In today's show, the Blazers don't get lit up by Steph Curry. I guess that's a victory. An update on Damian Lillard's health, and he reaffirms a seemingly monthly pledge that he doesn't want to be traded from the Portland Trail Blazers. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts, and now also on YouTube. We are trying to get to 2,000 subscribers by 2022. That's 2,000 subscribers on the YouTube page by New Year's. I need your help. I really do. I say this at the beginning of every show, but if we're going to get there, you got to do it. If you're listening to the show now or watching on YouTube, smash that subscribe button. We post a new episode every day of the week. It's the only daily Trailblazers podcast. And the YouTube channel is a lot of fun. So check it out. If you're a podcast listener, go ahead and subscribe on YouTube. Like I said, if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and smash that button. I would truly appreciate it. In today's show, we are going to talk about the Blazers' loss to the Warriors. They lose 104-94 in Chase Center. They were maybe in danger of Steph Curry hitting an NBA record number of threes and running it up on them. They didn't get run up on, but they still lost. We're also going to talk a little about Damian Lillard. There's an update on his health. He could play as soon as Sunday when the Blazers are next in action against the Minnesota Timberwolves at the Moda Center. Plus, he reaffirmed his commitment to the team like he seemingly does once a month nowadays, but he did again, and I'll let you hear from the man himself during some semi-turbulent times here in Rip City. Straight up turbulent times here in Rip City. And then we'll want to close the show just talking about kind of where the Blazers are. Looking ahead, four-game homestand, and kind of what's the deal with this group, particularly if Dame's going to be available. Like where should expectations be set? What are we looking for from this team, kind of with the reality of where they're at as a group? But we got to do it. We got to do what we do this time. The fastest recap in the West. The Blazers lose 104-94 in a game where Damian Lillard did not play, CJ McCollum did not play, Anfernee Simons did not play, and Cody Zeller did not play. You know who did? Nazir Little, who returned to the starting lineup alongside Dennis Smith Jr., Norman Powell, Robert Covington, and Yusuf Nurkic. And the Blazers were in this game for most of 2.5 quarters. They were down 26-23 after one, but Nazir Little started hot. Boy, he had 10 points in the first quarter, made all three of his shots, including a three-pointer, but 3 of 7 at the free throw line. I think the big number there is he took 7 free throws in the first quarter. He was just attacking the rim, being a crazy athlete, had a wild block in the first half of this one where he met Wiggins at the Summit. Like it was good to see Nas back and balling. Blazers stayed in the second quarter. They were down 2 at the half, 47-45 at the break. Nazir Little 18-6 in the first half, but here's the bad news. With 8 minutes and 41 seconds left in the third quarter, Nazir Little left the game for good with what the team called a left leg cramp. He had missed a couple games, cramping, trying to come back into playing NBA basketball. Plus, he played the whole first quarter, and then the first 3 minutes of the second quarter. He played basically just shy of 15 minutes to start the game. Played 14 minutes and 40 seconds to begin the game. That's too many consecutive minutes for most folks. Like, you just sub. And then he goes out with a left leg cramp. In the third quarter, where the Warriors typically kind of run off on teams, the Blazers didn't let them run away, but they did lose a little contact. They were down 76-66 after 3. Blazers did a good job of mucking up this game and keeping it ugly, but they just kind of ran out of firepower. In the fourth quarter, they never got closer than 8. They did have the ball down 8 twice with just over 2 minutes and then just over 90 seconds left, and they missed 2 shots that would have done it. Norman Powell missed a pull-up from the mid-range. Robert Covington missed a 3 kind of in transition. But that Robert Covington 3 was just like they needed to score because they were in scramble mode because they had missed on the previous possession. Never got closer than 8 down the stretch, and they lose 104-94. That's your fastest recap in the West. It was a legitimately awesome night from Nas. 18-6. He had 5 of 8 shooting, 2 of 4 from 3, 6 of 10 from the free throw line. He took 10 free throws in 26 minutes. Like, if Nas is someone who's a high free throw attempt guy, like he attacks and gets downhill and uses that athleticism to get shots, he's an 80% free throw shooter. So typically he makes two more than he did tonight. That's 20 points in 26 minutes. That's a weapon. He's not going to shoot 10 free throws every night, but that's a weapon. Nas, like, legitimately was like, when he came back in, you're like, oh yeah, this Blazers team does have some sort of talent waiting in the wings. They are missing a bunch of their good players. Like, 3 of their 4 best offensive players had sat out the previous game, plus Nasir Little, who's like one of their really important contributors, and maybe their best athlete. Probably just straight up their best athlete. I don't know why I maybe that one. Their best athlete. Norman Powell led the Blazers 26 points, but 1 of 7 from 3, just couldn't get it going from deep. In general, the Blazers did not shoot well from deep, 8 of 30, 27%. 12 and 13 with 6 dimes from Yusuf Nurkic. Dennis Smith Jr. had 12, 6 boards, and 5 assists, and a steal and 2 blocks. Dennis Smith Jr. everywhere. Ben McLemore, 12 points off the bench. Larry Nance played 23 minutes. I thought he gave him a small ball look and kind of helped them, like I said, muck up the game and keep it ugly. But this, Nance, just without Dame and CJ to play off of, has not had those offensive impacts. Like, he is a guy, he's a complementary part. He needs high level players to kind of unlock him. And when he's when he's a fulcrum and you don't have a lot of creators and he has to play next to Nurk, like, it's just a bad spot for him. I'm not making excuses, as more just explanation. Like, he has limitations and they're exposed when he's not out there with, elite shot creators to run pick and roll and dribble handoffs with. On the other side, Steph Curry, 22 points to lead the Warriors, who also got 20 from Jordan Poole and 14 from Andrew Wiggins. Draymond Green with a fun Draymond Green night, 5 points, 10 boards, 8 assists. Otto Porter Jr. had 15 off the bench and hit 4 3-pointers. Steph Curry needed 16 threes to come into this game. The record for made threes in a game is 14. And prior to the game, Steph Curry's like, maybe I'll go for it. Some people saw that as like showboating, or maybe like not showboating, but kind of like showing up the opponent. Steph Curry's pretty confident. I don't think that was unique to the Trailblazers. He's the only dude in the league that really might hit 16 in a game. But he finished 6 of 17 from 3. He struggled early, missed some makeable ones. And the Blazers did a good job of at least being, not like locking him up or whatever. But like making it a little hard on him. I thought Dennis Smith Jr. did a nice job. I thought their switching was pretty good. I thought the Norm Dennis Smith Jr. combo gave the Blazers kind of the athletes and the strength and the sort of stick-to-itiveness that they need without getting other guys wildly out of position. But the Blazers lose this game just because this was a talent game. Talk about this more to close the show, but like, I came away from the game against the Clippers thinking like, hey, the Blazers played pretty well. Cool. I came away from this one like, man, this team needs more talent. Like, it's like they're missing their 2 best players, and Ant, who's probably their 4th best offensive player, and on some nights their best offensive player, like capable of being their best offensive player. They're missing those folks. I think we've reached a point where like, they didn't play hard in previous 2 games and got walloped. And so like seeing them play hard against the Clippers was kind of heartening, because it's like, okay, these guys aren't quitters. I think we're beyond the play hard being like a bar to clear. It's a requisite for being a team that takes itself seriously. This was a game where many thought they were going to get boat raced. Like, they covered, right? They were 14-point dogs, 14.5-point underdogs. So they got closer than the prognosticators at BetOnline.ag believed they would be. But that's not the bar. The bar is to win and be competitive. Like, that's the best team in the NBA. And in the second half, the Blazers were not close. Down 10 at the end of the 3rd quarter, and never threatened. And never threatened is like, they also didn't go away and like get put to bed early. But this team still should fancy itself a playoff type team, and like the bar needs to be higher than didn't get blown out, didn't let someone set the all-time record for made 3-pointers. Preserved Ray Allen's all-time 3-point record is not like, don't hang the banner, as my friend Eric Gunderson joked. You do not hang the don't let Steph make history banner. They could use some W's. And I came away from this game being like, Okay, no more moral victories. We'll talk about that a little bit more to close the show. What I want to talk about in the second segment, though, is Damian Lillard. We got an update. He might play, according to Yahoo Sports, Chris Haynes of Yahoo Sports. Damian Lillard might play as early as Sunday. He was set to get reevaluated on Friday. When they first announced this injury, we kind of had pinpointed that these 3 days off the Blazers have here, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, was a get right time, physically. So it sounds like it's going to happen. Dame's going to come in, could come back at the earliest part of his timeline. So let's talk about what that means. And then also, Damian Lillard reaffirmed his commitment to the team, as he sort of always seemingly has to do. But I think, considering the news of the last couple days, it's worth revisiting why he might say that and what it means. So let's talk all about Dame in the second segment. But before we do that, let me tell you about Shopify. If you don't know, Shopify is a complete commerce platform that lets you start, grow, and manage a business. It's a subscription-based software that allows anyone to set up an online store and sell products. Plus, Shopify store owners can also sell in physical locations using Shopify's point-of-sale app and accompanying hardware that goes with it. Shopify gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved for big businesses. So upstarts, startups, and established businesses alike can sell everywhere, synchronize online and in-person sales, and effortlessly stay informed. So scaling your business becomes a journey of endless possibility, and Shopify helps make your entrepreneurial dreams come true. Shopify powers over 1.7 million businesses from first sale to full scale. So you can reach customers online, across social networks. Plus, they got an ever-growing suite of channel integrations and apps. So you can find folks who are on Facebook, who are on Instagram, who are on TikTok, who are on Pinterest, and whatever social channels you want to reach them. Find customers where they are with Shopify and gain insights as you grow with detailed reporting and conversion rates, so you can know your profit margins and everything else you'd want to know as your business gets bigger or your business gets better. Go to shopify.com/lockedonnba. That's all lowercase, locked on NBA, for a free 14-day trial and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today. Go to shopify.com/lockedonnba right now. Shopify.com/lockedonnba. Today's show is also brought to you by Truebill. It's the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't need, you don't want, or you simply forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 per year with Truebill because companies make subscriptions hard to cancel. So Truebill is here to make it incredibly simple. You just link your accounts and Truebill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in one tap. And your Truebill concierge is there when you need to cancel unwanted subscriptions, so you don't have to. You're paying for a service. They make it super simple. And if it's not super simple, you're literally paying for someone to do it, so it stays super simple no matter what. Truebill has over 2 million users and has helped them save up over $100 million in total. I use Truebill I went to truebill.com/lockedonnba and I signed up for the free trial. I checked out my subscriptions real quick. I was just like, hey, what do I have? Got my eyeballs on what I have. It took me 10 minutes from the time I downloaded the app to the time that I was looking right at my subscriptions on my phone. It's super quick and super easy. So don't fall for those subscription scams. Start canceling today at truebill.com/lockedonnba. Go right now, truebill.com/lockedonnba. It could save you thousands a year. That's truebill.com/lockedonnba. All right. Still a pass first point guard. Actually, we don't do that here. I'm jumping into the third segment. We're only in the second segment. All right, we talked fastest recap of the West. We talked the Blazers 104-94 win over the Golden State Warriors, and I got my branding a little bit confused coming back from that, but that's okay, y'all. That's a me problem, not a you problem. Here's what you need to know. Damian Lillard might play as soon as Sunday, according to a report from Chris Haynes of Yahoo Sports. Damian Lillard received a cortisone shot last week to alleviate some of the pain in his abdominal issue. This isn't surgery. This isn't a fix. This is basically a painkiller. He was playing through a lot of pain, and he looked like it. The last game he played, he looked terrible. I called it his worst game of the year, and he just looked awful. He was really, particularly on defense, he looked really, really bad. And apparently, reportedly, that's a great deal of that was just his abdomen is screwed up. Like his core is just jacked. And so this cortisone shot is going to alleviate some of that pain. So hopefully he can play through it. Dame has dealt with this injury on and off for 3 or 4 years. It typically flares up at the beginning of the season, and then he just kind of plays through it. I would assume that means that he has gotten cortisone shots in the past and kind of kept it moving. I don't know that. I'm just guessing, like, if he's dealt with it before and kind of just played through it, or maybe he's, found ways to, maybe it hasn't flared up this bad in the past, but like, this is not a new injury. This is like a thing. And he's been open about this. He's been open about it years ago, that it's something that has kind of flared up on him. This is the worst version of it. It's one of the problems with getting older, is that stuff hurts more. But it sounds like he's going to, with this sort of pain alleviated, give a shot to play. And the Blazers, they have a couple days off. Like I said, they're off Thursday, they're off Friday, they're off Saturday, and they play again Sunday evening against the Minnesota Timberwolves, the beginning of a 4-game homestand. And according to Haynes, Dame could return as early as Sunday. My read on that report is that is a way of saying Dame is going to play on Sunday unless something bad happens, like between now and then. So that's good news, right? The other Dame news is that he spoke today at shoot-around, and Damian Lillard did not need to speak today at shoot-around. When you're injured and you haven't returned to practice, the CBA rules do not stipulate that you need to speak to the media, but Damian Lillard spoke to the media because he wanted to get some stuff off his chest. If you have listened to the last 2 podcasts here, or if you just read the news and maybe you're checking out the podcast now, go subscribe on YouTube. 2,000 by 2022, need your help. You know that Dame's kind of been beefing with the national media over the last couple days. First, it was The Athletic with Shams Charania and Sam Amick, and a report that he kind of had, he was frustrated with how he was being utilized in Chauncey Billups' offense. And then a report from Adrian Wojnarowski that suggested that Damian Lillard was, kind of leveraging his power behind the scenes to get a $100 million extension, and that was not other people who were trying to get the GM job for the Blazers, going to become the permanent GM, were not interested in that and would rather trade Damian Lillard now than extend him, add 2 years on the end of his contract, which still has 3 years remaining on it. And Damian Lillard openly beefed on the internet with both of those reports, including kind of out and out saying that Woj got that information from departed GM Neil Olshey, and that Dame was, quote, not surprised at all. Beef aside, if you want to hear a full breakdown of the beef, it's in your podcast feed. It's the podcast right before this. I spent 20 minutes talking about it. But Dame spoke to media today, and part of what he said was like, I plan to be here. And I think that the sort of important thing to unpack is that, like, the speculation wasn't that Dame's going to demand a trade. The speculation was that that whoever might take over would prefer to tear it down than to move forward. But what Dame said was that he plans to be part of the solution. I want to play you that audio right now. This is courtesy of Jason Dumas from KRON 5 in San Francisco, or Kron 5 in San Francisco. I think it's Kron. I'm going to go Kron 5 in San Francisco, who I asked him if I could use this audio. He shared it on Twitter, and he gave me his blessing. So thank you so much, Jason. We really appreciate it here on the Locked On Blazers podcast. So here's what Dame had to say at shoot-around on Wednesday morning.
I'm not asking for a trade. I don't know how many times I got to say it. It's gotten to the point in this era that people can write stories and say things, and I heard this and I heard that, and because of who they are, people take it as like, this is credible. You know what I mean? This is probably true. And me, on the other hand, I don't feel like I have to defend myself against that and come out and challenge everything that people say until I'm asked about it, because I know the truth. You know what I mean? I sit in the office with Chauncey every day, and we trying to find solutions. And I'm dealing with these people every day that I walk in our practice facility trying to find solutions. So why would I be a part of trying to find solutions if I'm like planning on an exit? You know what I'm saying? That's not what's going on. But people want that so bad, and it's a good story and good things to talk about, and they know people are going to entertain it, so they continue with it. But my intentions are to be in Portland and to figure it out, and that's, as far as I know, that's all of our intentions. And I also know that people are going to continue to have these same conversations because it's fun to talk about, but, that shit is not accurate. So, they can keep talking about it all they want, and I'm going to keep saying the same thing. people say, sources or a person close in his camp. And when you say close in my camp, I'm going to know exactly the select few people that you're talking about because, I know a lot of people and I have conversations with a lot of people, but, I'm not a fool. And I don't say nothing behind closed doors about anybody that I wouldn't say publicly or to their face. And also the people that's close in my camp, when I talk to them, they wouldn't be close in my camp if I felt like, they would be talking to these people that I don't even know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So Dame's in the office every day, as he says. Dame's talking with Chauncey Billups every day and planning to be part of the solution. He's not going to demand a trade. I think that part's a little bit like that's the juicy part. Like I plan to be here, I'm not going to request a trade. That wasn't really the reporting, to be clear. Like Dame, he said this ad nauseum, basically, every chance he gets, like, I plan to be here. He said it at media day. And I did a whole podcast about how he's 2 feet in and fully committed. And I think, the read on like him and his people being, pretty down on Neil Olshey and pretty, pointed in their criticism of Neil Olshey on social media yesterday suggests that Damian Lillard, like Neil Olshey being gone, is not a bad thing for Dame, right? Like if anything, my read on that situation is that he would maybe feel a little more clarity, right? Like maybe feel like, okay, cool. Well, we can move forward, and I can move forward without this in the background, or without whatever his relationship had deteriorated to with Neil. That's my read just on tweets. I'm not reporting anything that you haven't heard, but I could read the tea leaves. I'm pretty good at tea leaves. I'm a real divination type guy. Shout out to my Harry Potter heads. But like, I think the thing here that I hear more from Dame, is not the trade stuff. It's I want to be part of the solution. I'm in Chauncey Billups' office every day. And I think to me, that's the bigger takeaway here, is that he's sitting down with his coach and is like, yo, let's figure this out together. We stink right now, and it's not going how I want it to go. Dame is having his worst season since his rookie year, his worst season in a decade, basically. So, like, he knows he needs to figure it out. It's not lost on him. He's pretty smart. Like, he knows that part of the struggles are just his struggles. And he wants, like I said, he wants to be part of the solution. I think one of the things is that part of the solution might include trades. And you can imagine just the way that any star would have say, and the way that Dame's had say in the past, that regardless of who might make those trades and who might make roster decisions, Dame will have a say. Chauncey Billups said in a press conference earlier this week that he hopes to have some input if there are roster moves on what that might look like. Like the principal figures, Dame and Chauncey, as you'd expect, want to shape this roster into be something better than it is so far. Because so far this year hasn't been super good. So they want it to be better. Like they're 11-15. They are what they are. So, some better health, some sort of better plan, and Dame returns, and you feel like they'll get there. But it's another reaffirmation of Dame's allegiance to the city. Like I said, I think the reporting was more about a GM wanting to trade Dame than Dame asking out. He's responding to something that I think is not necessarily being reported, but Dame, props to him, because during all of this unsettled time, he could send out some cryptic tweets and some cryptic Instagram posts, which he certainly did. But like, he could also, what he chose to do was just go ahead and say, here's where I'm at. Speak to reporters. I played you 2 minutes of that audio. He spoke for the videos I watched. I was not there, full disclosure, which is why I asked someone for permission to use the audio, because journalists on the ground doing the job is how you get the information. You need local reporters to get this. It's how the ecosystem works. Again, so shout out to Jason Dumas. But like, he went and spoke to reporters and said, here's where I'm at. What's up? Like, this is where I'm at. I kind of think he was addressing something that didn't exist necessarily, but he knows the situation is a little unsettled, a little murky around him, and he wanted to set the record straight, and he wanted to put his name on it, something that he takes pride in, being a guy who stands and answers the questions, and he doesn't always, he's not going to address every rumor, but when it comes time to talk, Dame is there to say what needs to be said. So respect. Dude is an absolute pro. And I've never worked with a star in my 6-7 years around the league. I've never experienced the Blazers without Dame, but like, he is as good as it gets when it comes to stuff like that. So respect to Damian Lillard Sr. because he has earned the respect from people like me, from media people who are, have a lot of transactional relationships, looking for quotes, looking for info from these people. And Dame stands and delivers and speaks earnestly and honestly. So I'm glad he did it again today and put his name on it and kind of set the record straight, even though he was maybe a little confused about what the record was saying. Before we come back in the third segment, I want to talk about kind of where the Blazers are at. They're 11-15. They're 1-11 on the road. They're coming back for 4 home games. My sort of what I felt coming away from this Warriors game and looking ahead to 4 home games next week as the Blazers head towards the new year and creep a little closer towards the halfway mark of the season. Like 26 games in, but they're creeping. They'll be at the 30-game mark by this time or by the end of next week. So that's what we'll do in the third segment. Before we do that, I want to tell you about Stance. There's a lot of ad copy that they sent us that suggests that I should talk about how I heard about Stance and how I think they're cool or I got them as a gift. And all of that is true. But also like 80% of my socks are Stance, and I've been wearing Stance socks for like a decade. So I don't need to BS this one. I'm just someone who wears Stance socks. I first heard about them because they had cool NBA prints on them. In fact, I own Stance socks with James Worthy and Pete Maravich and Bill Walton and Clyde Drexler all printed on them, like cool NBA socks. But I also own socks. They're comfy. So after I was like, I want cool basketball socks because I'm a big basketball dork, I just started getting the socks because they're really comfortable. Cool prints and designs, but also just like feel good on your feet. And since I've started wearing them, this is a company that launched in 2009. I think I was in on the ground floor shortly thereafter in 2009. Now they make all types of products, just like clothes you can wear and underwear and athletic socks. Before it was just kind of like performance clothes or performance socks and performance clothes. Like their Stance has really expanded, and it's a product I legitimately really enjoy. So Stance believes that the perfect fit matters more than fitting in, that those who feel good do good. Go see for yourself. Register for an account at stance.com and get 15% off your first purchase. Use the promo code LOCKEDON at checkout to apply. Enjoy the color and comfort of life less ordinary with Stance. Still a pass first point guard. Still Mike Richmond. Still listening to Locked on Blazers. This time I got my branding right. We talked Blazers loss in Golden State. We talked to the Damian Lillard update. Sounds like he's going to try to play Sunday, and I'm going to bet that he will. But I came away from that Warriors game thinking about 2 things. One, it'd be good to see Damian Lillard back in the lineup on Sunday. And 2, I'm kind of over moral victories for this team. I came away from the Clippers game on Monday evening and I said, good. That was a good step in the right direction. They played tough. They were in the game for 45 minutes. And then in the 3-minute mark of the fourth quarter, the Clippers had Paul George and the Blazers didn't have someone on Paul George's level. The NBA kind of works like that sometimes. But the bar was so low after the Blazers' 2 blowout home losses that game against the Clippers, I was willing to say, good job. Good job, fellas. Like you played hard and you didn't bail out and you were really shorthanded against the Clippers and you didn't jump out the canoe, stayed in it through the rapids. So like I gave him props. Like if you listen to the show, like I'm not lying to you. I legitimately said like, hey, good effort. Good effort. Good job. Good effort. If y'all are old enough to remember the good job, good effort kid. If you're not, you're like in the 3rd grade. But I was the good job, good effort kid. I came away from the Warriors game with the opposite feeling. It was I felt much more down, kind of much more depressing because it was like the Blazers played well. Didn't let the Warriors, who are owners of the 2nd best offense in the league and the best defense in the league, didn't let them run off on them. Didn't let them just like turn the game into a track meet or let Steph Curry go nuts or Jordan Poole go nuts or Andrew Wiggins just kind of like take advantage of his athleticism or all of the things that can happen if the Warriors get rolling. They're good. They're the best team in the NBA probably. Close. Shout out to the Phoenix Suns and Milwaukee Bucks. But they're one of the very good teams, and like this could have been a blowout. And I think there is something to be said for being competitive, but there's also something to be said for like once they were down 10 entering the fourth, they did not pose a threat. And they did not pose a threat because they just don't have the guns right now. Their three best offensive creators, like the dudes who are best at individual offense, Dame, CJ, and Ant, didn't play. And it was incredibly apparent. They just don't have they don't have the offensive creators. They don't have the ball handlers. They don't have the guys who can go get their own shot. Norman Powell's a really good offensive player, but he is not a sort of like run 82 pick and rolls in a game and get everyone involved, or even like go get his crazy offense. Like, it's just not what Norm's skill set is. He's a second side attacker. He's if the defense has a crack in it, or if someone else creates an advantage, Norm is a great catch and shoot shooter, and he's a great like attacking against an unset defense or an unbalanced defense or a scrambling defense. He's super aggressive and puts his head down. Like, y'all know I like Norm. I like him a lot. One of my favorite players in the league. But like, he's not a top option offensive creator. It's just not a skill set. That's how the puzzle pieces work. The Blazers were missing that. And I think like they've reached a point where like I'm watching them kind of this offense kind of be ugly. You know, they scored 90 and 94 points in back-to-back games, under 100 points in consecutive games for the first time all season. They just don't have the offensive firepower to hang. That's a health problem. But like, the games still keep coming. And while I came away from the Clippers game thinking like, good job, good effort, I came away from Warriors game and was like, okay, no more moral victories, no more of those. Particularly, Dame affirming he's all in and wants to be part of the solution. Well, it's time to get to solving. This Blazers team is 11-15. They're not out of it. Like, if you just look at the standings, like, it's not over for them, but you can't rely on them just like ripping off a whole bunch of games. They got to go ahead and get to winning. This was supposed to, December is a home heavy month, and the Blazers have spoiled a good portion of that, 25% of that home heavy month so far. They're in 11th place. They're also 2.5 games out of 6th. Like, it's, like I said, they're not out of it. So I'm not like, it's not over for them, but like, if you're going to get going, there's no more moral victories, no more feeling good about losses, feeling good about effort. Like, the effort stuff has to just be there. You have to play hard. Done. I don't like, Chauncey Billups has questioned the team's heart and effort and sort of compete level 3 times this season in public. That's bad news. You do not want a first-year head coach who's doing that. You can, draw your own conclusions whether it's like appropriate for a coach to do that. As a journalist, I love that shit. Please keep doing it. It's incredible content, and the honesty and candidness is I truly appreciate. I can understand from other perspectives why maybe you wouldn't want him to do that, and I totally get it. But like, the compete stuff can't come up again. The competitive stuff can't come up again. They just have to play hard. They need to buy into the plan and go ahead and play hard. They're not going to be a good defensive team this year. I'm okay with saying that. I thought they were going to be slightly above average. Now I think they've got to dig themselves out from truly terrible. Some of that is just effort stuff to get away from truly terrible, but there's no more moral victories. No more feeling good about a 10-point loss to a good team on the road. They need to start playing like a good team. They need to rip off some wins and play like a good team. And coming up, beginning Sunday, when Damian Lillard might return, they play 4 home games against quality competition. The Minnesota Timberwolves, who are right ahead of the Blazers in the standings, they got walloped tonight by the Utah Jazz, lost by 30. The Phoenix Suns, who are one of the best teams in the NBA, they're 20-4 as I record this, half game behind the Warriors. Then second night of a back-to-back, they play Memphis, who may or may not have Ja Morant. He was missing time with an injury. The Grizzlies don't disclose injuries, so it's not 100% clear what Ja's dealing with. But he also is now on the COVID list, so he's could be out for as many as 10 days. So it remains to be seen whether Ja would be back for that game. That's like a full week away. So you would assume he will be out of, health-wise, he'll be out of the health and safety protocols. It's just like what the rest of his body is he going to be, is he going to be good to go? But the second night of a back-to-back against a Memphis team that's 14-11, won 5 straight without Ja, and that's a good basketball team. Those are 3 good teams, and they close out the homestand against the Charlotte Hornets, who have had their own adventures with a COVID outbreak within their organization, missing a bunch of their good players. But when they're full, when they're whole, that's a good team. That's a really competitive, really fun team. Like, These are 4 home games against 4 good teams. Time to go win some damn games. I don't think there's any other, I don't think we need to sugarcoat it or make this anything it's not. Like, if the Blazers fancy themselves a good team, or if they fancy themselves what I believed them to be at the beginning of the year, which is something like the 6th best team in the West. It's what I kept saying they were going to finish. It's time to win some games. If you're a playoff team, it's time to win some games. It's time to win games at home. That's what good teams do. No more moral victories. This was a couple, 2 in a row, or you could say maybe some moral victories. The team is beyond that now. If you start slipping more, there's nothing to feel good about. You don't feel good about, hey, they played hard. Who cares? They should have been playing hard. We're over that. We've moved beyond it. Time to go win. And with 4 home games next week, before a mini 2-game road trip, it's time to go get some dubs. They need to go win some basketball games. They don't need to go 4-0 to please this bloodthirsty podcaster, but they need to at a minimum win 2, and you'd like them to go 3-1. Straight up. 3-1, they'll be 14-16. That's not going to feel great, but they need to go win some basketball games. This is a week to do that. This is a week to throw out the moral victories, to throw out feeling good about, to feel good about losses, or feel, okay, or kind of find some obvious built-in excuses. No more excuses. None of that. Kid gloves are off. Go win some basketball games. They desperately need it. The vibe, they're just for the vibes, they need it, and for the standings, they need it. It's time. It is time. We have reached that point in the season where growing pains or the nonsense about bad habits developed under the old coaching staff, throw that crap out. They need to go win some basketball games. This is the group they have for now. They need to go win it. Big press conference tomorrow. Blazers are going to have a press conference with Joe Cronin, Chauncey Billups, and the new president on the business side, Dwayne Haskins. So we will have a show covering that. Depending on availability, Jason Quick might join, but we'll see what comes out of that. But in any case, Joe Cronin's going to talk. That's a big deal. His first time addressing the media since becoming the interim GM. Chauncey will be there to kind of help to also sort of talk about the vision for what's next, or what the current, what they see as the current roster, and sort of answer those questions. And Dwayne Haskins will be there to answer, questions about the business side and taking over. That's enough. The business stuff is the basketball part is what I'm interested in. Let me just say that. So look for a show, Friday show. We will cover that press conference. Not 100% sure in what manner, but I'm going to attend that press conference. So I will tell you what we learned and what to know. I'll bring you the good stuff. And if it's good enough, I'll play the audio like I did here. So yeah, make sure you are checking that one out. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. 2,000 subscribers by New Year's, 2,000 subscribers by 2022. We can get there with your help. We're at about 1,400 and some change, maybe 1,500 by the time you listen to this. So if you're listening now, if you're at the back half of this episode, you made it this far, go subscribe to the YouTube channel right now. Do not wait. Do not wait. Don't do it later. Do it now. I would truly appreciate it. You can also find this podcast wherever you get podcasts. Also, just tell your friends to listen. It's how people find out about podcasts, is word of mouth. So if you enjoy the show and you have friends who are fans of the Trailblazers, tell them to do the same. Appreciate you listening. Talk to you soon.